Hello, I'm Jenny Parker, and in this video I discuss some of the trends and issues for integrating technology into the history classroom. This presentation is being recorded using Camtasia Studio. I've imported the little video that I've taken with my webcam for my introduction that I've used on my other presentations. I've also now just imported an image of a PowerPoint slide to use here for the introduction, and I'd leave this on screen while I talk about and introduce my presentation, and then I'm going to move on and talk about my 4 resources, which I'll do with a live screen capture. So the first resource I found was an article, and it was about teaching and learning history and geography through information and communication technologies. So it's very specifically focused on a teaching experience where they're using different technologies to assist students to learn, and they're clearly stated in the article, so there's lots to talk about. Once I'd discussed my article, I would move on to my next resource. In this case, I've got the website, which I'm using not just a name on the wall. And again, I would summarize the content and I would explain what this resource is about. I would identify what technologies are mentioned, and this isn't explicitly mentioned. You have to actually look through and see how they're doing things. So you'll find that they're researching using internet resources that the teacher has provided for them, that they're making notes and writing up their reports. And on the teacher's information page, it even talks about them uploading their stories to a website. So there's a range of technology identified in this particular resource. And you might want to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of those here, or you might want to leave that to the end. So it's up to you how you present your information. Now, the video resource I've found isn't specifically talking about how the teacher has used this resource. What it actually is a video that's been created by students to demonstrate their understanding of American history. So you can talk about that. And the last resource I found is the podcast, and I have mentioned in my blog post that this particular resource that I found doesn't explicitly mention technology, except once or twice it mentions students watching videos, which isn't very authentic. But what the podcast does talk about is about making Australian history more fun and engaging for students, and it presents the concepts of authentic learning. Students need to become historians and to do history. So they're actively researching, they're doing oral interviews and get involved with other people. So from that, even though it's not explicit, you can talk about the technologies that a real historian would use. For example, I could relate back to my article where they actually specifically talk about internet searches for researching. And I could also relate back to my name on the wall where they're also using the internet to research. Okay, they're also talking about genealogy programs. So you'd be thinking about, well, if they were really going to be a historian and they were researching their family tree, well, they would be putting stuff together by using a family tree software. Or like the teacher tube video, it may be that you get them to use the video to present their work. Once we've talked about our 4 resources, we would then move on to summarize what we've discovered. I would probably summarize the technology trends on their own slide, and once I had done that, I would move on and talk about the impact of teaching and learning, the advantages and disadvantages of integrating these technologies that I've identified into my history classroom. And last but not least, I would have a slide which would have the credits. Now, the slide I'm showing here just has the credits for the images that are on the PowerPoint. I would also need to include in this particular presentation the links to the 4 resources that I have included here in this presentation. However, in this instance, I'm just going to refer you to my history webpage, and all of the credits are listed there. This presentation was put together by Camtasia Studio, which is a lot more involved than some of the other tools that we've looked at and does take a little bit of a learning curve.